Her breath stunk from meters away. We anonymously left a bottle of Listerine on her desk. We thought we were being kind, she thought it was a horrible prank. Has your class ever made the teacher cry? What happened? Welcome to another storytime, hosted by yours truly, Andrew the Storyteller. Today's story is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm so certain you're going to enjoy it. Since you're already here, why not hit that like button and subscribe for more crazy stories? If you do subscribe, I'll send you a Riley Reid fleshlight. Anyway, let's get into the stories. We had a substitute once, and one of the football jocks went behind her and pretended to hump her. She glared back at him and began bawling. Poor lady. Someone made the math teacher cry by saying, "Math is the devil." Her license plate was Mathfin, so you know she was serious about it. Our form tutor was a kindly middle-aged Welsh gal, pure as anything, just happy to be doing her job. But teenagers being who they are, it made her a joke to many. She announced to the class she'd be leaving at the end of the term or year, etc., and they all cheered and whooped. She left the classroom in tears. Kids can be assholes. No, but once in chemistry class the teacher Coach Bert stopped writing on the board, looked straight ahead and mumbled. I could probably blow my brains all over this chalkboard, and y'all wouldn't even notice. The only people that heard him were me and the girl I was talking to. I responded, "Coach, I think that's a dry erase board, nobody uses chalk anymore." And he laughed, which made me feel slightly less concerned. Teacher posted pictures of her old Cocker Spaniel everywhere. Well, eventually it got sick and died. She took a few days off and was devastated. Class worked with the school and each other to pull the funds to get her a new puppy Cocker Spaniel. We presented it to her when she returned and she was so happy she cried. Teacher here. I was witness to the death of one of my former students, pedestrian hit by a car right outside my apartment. This was pretty common knowledge to my students, and during a Kahoot game, one of them put her name as their nickname. Couldn't help tearing up, and I let the waterworks start during my prep period. I'm the teacher who cried, but I guess I can still share something, lol. My class noticed one morning that I wasn't myself, and one kid asked me during recess whether I was okay. Normally I wouldn't share about my personal life, but I told my student that my grandma had passed away that morning. At the end of the day, before I dismissed the class committee handed me a sympathy card with really sweet condolence messages from every student in my class. I couldn't keep it in and started bawling. I had a French teacher once. We were her first class since becoming a teacher, lovely woman, but many of us suspected she has mental health problems, always very quiet and mousy, and she always came in looking a bit messy. Hair not brushed and makeup a bit smudged. There were these two girls who would just torment her. They hid pickled mussels around the classroom and were just these loud, obnoxious arseholes. Long story short, turns out the teacher's mum had just died, and on top of the stress of managing a class with some real horrible kids, she had a nervous breakdown and never came back. About 2 years later I was going to a concert and saw her begging for money outside a train station. Just felt so horrible seeing what she had been reduced to, all because of some nasty fuckling kids that just pushed her and pushed her. In 5th grade, my class was always extremely nasty to every substitute teacher that came in. They'd act out, doing and saying stupid shit, and though we never actually saw any of them cry, our regular teacher told us on multiple occasions that we'd left the substitute in tears after class was done. I hated every time there was a substitute because it would always become a shirt show. Also in middle school we had a teacher that started out extremely chill. She said she didn't believe in yelling at students. Unfortunately though, a lot of the same little shirts from my 5th grade class were in this class too, plus new ones. I don't remember what the cause was exactly, but one day she just snapped and screamed at us for a good 10 minutes. She definitely believed in yelling at students after that. It's one of the few things from middle school I remember clear as day. Angry tears. Had a history teacher one year, really good teacher. He had a teenage son who had committed suicide, and after he took some time off, he came back to work. Standard class clown kid started acting up in his class. Teach asks him to go into the hallway so he can speak with him privately. We heard their exchange get a little heated, but this kid just cranked it to 11 and insinuated teacher's kid was right to kill themselves with a father like him. Heard that kid bounce off some lockers about a second after. Teacher came back into the room with angry tears and told one of us to call the school resource officer. It became a big hullabaloo, and teacher ended up suspended for the rest of the year. At the time I thought it was crazy he'd shove that kid like that. 15 years later and some real-world experience later, I'm surprised that's all he did. I remember in high school getting a teacher fresh out of unit. He was the best, super passionate about teaching, and would often incorporate music and comedy into his teaching to make it more interesting. Almost everyone in the class loved him because of it. There were 3 footy players who would always play up in class though, and the teacher spent extra attention on them, trying to get them just as excited about learning as the rest of the class, but they were simply too cool to pay attention in class. One day they took it too far. I can't remember the exact details, but I do remember that one of the footy players threw a chair as a joke, either at another student or at the teacher himself, and it just broke the poor guy. He lost his shirt at the unruly students, and you could see the pure frustration in his face. He just wanted to teach, but these few students were hellbent on ruining it for everyone. He ended up just leaving the classroom in tears, and everyone in the class quickly turned against the kids who threw the chair. Multiple times, we were a terrible class. She was our 6th grade teacher. Our school had this odd system where you had a homeroom teacher for most of the day, but then rotated around to other teachers for just a few classes. Our homeroom teacher was also the music teacher, and for some reason during music class all hell would break loose. She went on vacation for a week and came back with a bad sunburn around the eyes, so we would only call her Mrs. Raccoon. It caused her to get more tanning done. During one music class she really had to go to the washroom, so she left for about 4 seconds, and a fight broke out between a boy and a girl. The girl took the boy's head and threw it through a snare drum. He got stuck in there. She came back to thinking he was dead. Eventually she had a mental breakdown mid-class and ran out into the hallway crying. The 7th grade teacher saw this and instead of consoling her walked in and just let us have it. I'll never forget that day. He said we were spoiled assets for treating a teacher who only ever wanted to help us like trash. He screamed that if he had a teacher like her when he was a kid, he would do everything he could to keep her. Yelled that if we kept acting this way we were in for a life of disappointment brought on by our own rampant incompetence. It worked. Some of us cried, but everyone felt horrible, and we were all nice to her for the remaining year. This is a long one, but here goes. When I was about 14-15, my school had an awesome young science teacher. Fresh out of university, eager to do well in his first job, passionate about his subject, and always staying late to help out the kids who needed the extra help. Unfortunately, he was super timid and shy, and not very good at handling behavioral issues. Naturally, the shirtier kids, and even the ones you would expect better from, found it fun to completely take advantage of this, and it soon became a common game to just see who could do their best at making his life hell. I never saw him cry myself, but I did see him get pushed to his limits, and one day I heard he had a bit of a breakdown. I can't remember exactly what I was told happened, but he fled a classroom on the verge of tears, and some of the other teachers needed to step in to get the class back under control. Anyway, one Monday we found out he had passed away the day before from an undetected heart problem. His father went to his house the previous Sunday morning when he didn't turn up for their golf session and found him dead in his bed. He was 24. Needless to say, all of the kids who tormented him felt absolutely awful about it. One girl in particular confided in me about how she felt so terrible. She knew he was a great teacher, but she joined in with the pack, and now she had to live with knowing this young, kind teacher died, and all she had ever done was contribute to making his life difficult. A lesson for young Redditors: treat your teachers well. They've dedicated themselves to giving you your education, something many people in this world aren't lucky enough to have. They're people like you and me, people just trying to do their jobs well. My mother is an English teacher, and the stress kids put her under resulted in her mental and physical health declining to the point of needing to leave the job. Again, teachers are people, mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters. Treat them like shirt, and you will grow up to regret it, and you'll deserve every ounce of the guilt you feel. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the story time? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more story times.